Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne's Sharp World, where today we are taking a look at another new offering coming out of Vostede. And this one here, I have really come to enjoy this for what it is. For what it is, it's quite impressive. And what we're talking about here is none other than the Vostede Mini Labrador. Now, before I go any further into this review, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now let's take a look at some overall specs on this knife right here. We have an overall length coming in at 6.23 inches, a blade length of 2.73 inches, and a blade thickness of 98 thousandths. We have 14C28N for the blade steel, and we are looking at a drop point style blade with a nice, slicey, thin, flat grind, which we will talk more about here in just a second. We have a handle length coming in at 3.5 inches and a handle thickness at 374 thousandths. Handle material on this, titanium. Titanium handle, and that's going to be even more impressive when you hear the price of this guy. We have a nice frame lock for the locking mechanism, a user of a right hand only tip-up carry, a weight coming in at a very nice and light 1.93 ounces, designed by you of Vostede Knives, and we have a price, $69. That's really good. I get it, 14C is a budgety steel, but it's also a great steel. You combine that with titanium, and you have one very, very attractive piece here that's simple and just executed very well. And I'll explain why it is executed very well here in just a second, after some size comparisons, because we need to really get a gauge of just how small this knife is, because this is not just a small knife, it's a small knife that feels small. And if that sounds stupid, just let me explain myself, because as you guys know, there's some knives like the Baby Banter, to where it gives you that full 4-finger grip. It's really full in your hand, and that's great. The Labrador, the Mini Labrador, doesn't quite do that. It feels like a small knife in your hand. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just important to know. You know, it doesn't have that forward choil, and it is truly a small knife. And let's compare it with some other Vostede small knives. Here's the Mini Nightshade. And I think what really makes the Mini Labrador feel small is just kind of how narrow the entire knife is. The handle itself, it's flat titanium. It's not contoured. The original full-size Labrador had contoured micarta scales, so significant difference there. And even when you compare it to the Chipmunk, it's the same length as the Chipmunk. It's just the Chipmunk has that extra little bit of heft in the handle to it. It's a much thicker handle. Let's compare those real quick. As you can see, noticeably difference in thickness. Let's close these blades up and get a side-to-side comparison of that, because I think that'll best explain it. As you can see, noticeable difference there in the thickness of the handle. And that's, I think, what ultimately makes it feel like a smaller knife. Now let's take these two out of the way and let's compare a couple bigger knives from Vostede just to get that true size comparison. Here is the Thunderbird, the original full-size Thunderbird, and as you can see, it towers over the Mini Labrador. And of course, you know what was coming. The Vostede Thornton, designed by yours truly, and as you can see, it's also much bigger than the Labrador, Mini Labrador as well. So I think we know now just what we are working with. And also, FYI, for anyone that I've had a lot of people message me about the availability of the Thorntons, when the next drop is going to be. There is another drop coming. Your support is greatly appreciated. It's been very successful so far, and there is more coming. I'll do my best to give you all a heads up of when that's going to be. I just don't have an exact day yet. But now let's get back to this lovely little knife here. And let's talk about the blade, because while it is a very simple drop point blade, it is also a very slicey blade. We are looking at a behind the edge reading of 12 thousandths right behind the edge. And yeah, it's just, it is, you know, arguably it's kind of a perfect small little EDC for someone that may have, you know, little smaller hands or just prefer a small knife, but also a nice size blade for the actual size of this handle. This is some very nice blade to handle ratio going on here. And a very, very nice action on this piece. Very, very satisfying. You have a nice tip that is slicey, but there's also some, for how thick the stock of the blade is, this is considered to be, it's got a little bit of heft up there behind the tip. So it's going to be a very nice, versatile blade for you. Has a very, very nice thin edge from top to bottom. A decent plunge grind, and just a very nice, clean, simple blade shape that I really do like. When you get into the handle, there's really not a whole lot to talk about here. There's no internal milling. Obviously, for $69, some things have to just kind of not happen, like internal milling. That's machine time. And you just can't, you do the internal milling and you do all the little things here and there, and then that $69 knife becomes a $89 or $99 knife. So I think a lot of people would probably be okay with this as is for 69 bucks. Yeah, titanium and 14C for $69 I think is going to win a lot of people over here. You have a very nice milled clip that goes in and out of the pocket just fine. Looks good, nice and clean. I like what they did there with the Vosteed logo. They kept it nice and small, but it's still there. It's still presented. Really nice there. You have a nice solid lockup on that frame lock. And you also have your over travel stop, which is very important. And you also have your lock bar stop up there to avoid any wear on the titanium and guarantee a nice secure lockup over time. So they hit everything here. Like all the little details that you have to have are accomplished. The only thing that was kind of looked over was, the other, added benefit details like the internal milling and things like that. Now, the one thing about this handle that I would have really liked to see, I think it still probably could have been done, but the lock bar here. Now, I will say there's a pro and a con to this. So they did no beveling. This is just kind of, it's chamfered a little, so it's not sharp, but it's basically just the edge of the titanium here. So now that does help you, like, since it is more of a narrow handle, it does help give that extra little grip and bite. So when you go to disengage the lock, it's very easy. Your finger obviously catches that corner of the lock bar and no issue. You don't have any slippage or anything. It's just very easy to break the lock, close the knife. But I can't help but think just a little bit of beveling there and maybe a little like knurling or something to get that extra little kind of a soft area here that just feels really good to break that lock. That would have been really nice, but again, that would have been more machine time. So I get it, but I still would have really liked to seen it on this. That would have made this like a budgety piece made like, in my eyes, rather premium. But that's okay. It still works great as it is. Very easy to disengage that lock, and you have plenty enough access to the lock bar to do that. Now the action itself, this action on this knife, this is why I wanted to go with Vosteed when I was bringing my Thornton out into the industry. I wanted to go with a good budget brand that I knew was going to nail the little things that would really irritate me. And one thing that really, really irritates me about a knife is putting too much pressure on the lock bar and then having trouble deploying the blade. And you don't have that here. It's perfect. The detent is perfect. Even if you have your finger on the lock bar, it's very, very easy to break that detent and rocket that blade out. I love that. That is probably the biggest deal breaker for me if I'm looking at any knife. I don't care if it's 50 bucks. I don't care if it's 400 bucks. If pressure on the lock bar makes the deployment hard, I'm out. Count me out. I don't care how good it looks. I don't care where it's from. I don't care anything. If pressure on the lock bar makes it hard to deploy the blade, I'm not a buyer. And this is just perfect. It's executed to perfection. And it is a very, very, very nice piece overall for 69 bucks. I would definitely recommend it. I have a feeling it's going to be a rather popular little knife. Obviously, little knives are not for everybody, but for the people that do enjoy them, I would say get it while the getting's good, because I think they're going to be a rather popular knife. So that's it, guys. That is the Vosteed Mini Labrador. Let me know what you think of this little piece. I think it's a pretty damn nice piece. Borderline a home run for the price. You're getting a lot of bang for your buck there. You're getting a really good, clean looking little knife. So really hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And until the next one, I'm out.